Last night, I looked at the two people I trusted most in the entire world, my wife and my best buddy, and realized they'd been sneaking around and sleeping together right under my nose. But the absolute craziest part? It's not even the cheating itself. It's that neither of them seems to understand why my entire world is falling apart. Welcome back, guys. Today we are diving deep into the r/polyamory subreddit for a post that is going to give you absolute whiplash. Just when you think you know where this story is going, you don't. My wife and I, we've been together for 6 years. Up until last night, honestly, I thought everything was great. Sure, we had our normal couple issues, a few little white lies over the years, nothing massive, but nothing that threatened the core of our relationship. We have a beautiful small child together. We built a life I was really proud of. About 4 months ago, though, we made a pretty huge decision. We decided we wanted to open our marriage up. We wanted to start swinging and meeting other couples. So that's exactly what we did. We had a couple of threesomes, and everything was going perfectly fine. For me. It was fun. It was exciting. I was happy keeping it strictly physical. But for my wife, she realized she wanted more. She wanted real emotion, a genuine connection with other people, not just hookups. It took me a minute to wrap my head around that, but I loved her, so I understood. I told her, look, as long as we're creating connections with people who are entirely new to us, I would be fine with it. I told her I didn't mind her having a whole boyfriend, and she didn't mind if I got a girlfriend. But I had one major, non-negotiable boundary: mutual approval. I needed to approve of her partners, and she needed to approve of mine. That way, everyone just felt like an extension of our own little family. Anyway, almost a year ago, one of my oldest, most loyal friends moved back into town. We instantly picked up being bros right from the get-go. I decided to come out to him about my wife and I being polyamorous, and he was super supportive about the whole thing. I would tell him stories about our adventures. It was just really nice to have a totally judgment-free zone with a close friend. But then, things started getting weird. I noticed my wife would hang out with him alone quite a bit, and worse, she would lie to me about it. I kept thinking, why on earth would she lie? But I trusted both of them completely, so I stupidly brushed it off. I really shouldn't have. See, this all happened after she had come to me and asked if she could take him on as her new boyfriend. I told her very clearly, no. I vetoed it. I told her I wasn't comfortable with it because I was terrified it might ruin a close friendship that I desperately needed to keep. Years ago, we were in a friend group where almost everyone turned their backs on me, but he was the one guy who stuck by my side. I was fiercely protective of our bond, and I didn't want messy relationship drama ruining it. Last night, I was hanging out with him, and he let a few weird comments slip, things that made the hairs on my arms stand up. It suddenly clicked that something was going on. So right before bed, I confronted my wife. Naturally, she denied it, but I didn't let up, and eventually the truth came out. She looked at me and confessed that for the past few months, they've been seeing each other in secret whenever I wasn't around. They've slept together twice and fooled around a bunch of other times. I feel like all the air has been punched out of my lungs. The most maddening part? Neither of them gets why I'm so incredibly mad, or why I refuse to be friends with him anymore. I just wanted to explore a poly relationship, but it feels like trying to do that has completely destroyed my life. What do I do? Honestly, I really don't want my marriage to end. So I took the advice you guys gave me in the original thread. I decided to seek counseling with my wife, to try and salvage whatever was left of our relationship. After I posted that first story, we actually sat down with my former best friend, and all three of us tried to talk it out. My friend looked me in the eye and claimed he was completely in love with my wife. My wife, on the other hand, showed a ton of remorse after the reality of what she did finally hit her. But the truth that came out next was so much darker than a simple affair. I found out that my so-called best friend had, over the course of 3 months, gotten my wife heavily addicted to Adderall and cocaine. My wife is a former addict, so this was a full-blown, terrifying relapse. She ended up checking herself into a treatment center. We started going to couples counseling every other day for the entire first month. We were lucky to find a therapist who was friendly to non-monogamy, which helped a lot. In counseling, everything spilled out. My wife admitted she felt like she dug herself into this massive hole of lies that she couldn't escape. So she started using the drugs again to numb the overwhelming guilt. Then she showed our therapist her text history with my ex-best friend. Those texts proved that he had totally manipulated her. He lied and told her that he had secretly gotten my permission for them to date. He even told her that I had a cuckold fetish and that I was enjoying the whole thing. Pure, insane lies. I had never said anything like that in my life. But the craziest part of counseling was when my wife begged our therapist to let me have a short-term relationship with another woman, to even the scales. I told her immediately I wasn't interested in revenge cheating. So she changed her mind and said she just wanted me to sleep with another woman without telling me. I told her I refused to be deceitful just to make her feel less guilty about what she did. My focus was purely on fixing our marriage. After 5 months, we left counseling, and things have actually been really good. She still randomly breaks down crying, apologizing for the dark headspace she was in. But the weird thing is, she still wants me to go sleep with someone else. We even started swinging again, hoping it would help, but she's not into it. She just wants me to cheat to ease her own guilt. I've forgiven her, but she says she can't forgive herself until I do it. How do I make her feel better without faking a whole relationship? I'm sure no one on Reddit remembers me, but I was the guy cheated on 9 years ago when my wife and I tried polyamory. Basically, my toxic friend manipulated his way into my marriage and had a secret relationship with my wife. When I first posted here, it was the absolute darkest period of my life. Everyone online was telling me my marriage was over. But we went to therapy, we put in the agonizing work, and we gave it a real shot. Fast forward to today, and I am proud to say we are doing great. It took years to heal, but if you work hard enough, sometimes you can save the unsavable. We paused polyamory, had some fun again a few years later, and finally closed our marriage completely in 2022. But looking back, there was a massive piece of the puzzle I completely left out of my original posts. The truth is, back in 2016, I had completely checked out of my marriage. I let our relationship run on bare minimum cruise control. Before her affair even started, I was staying up all night playing video games, hanging out at the bar with coworkers, and ignoring her entirely. During that exact time, my old friend came around, and he gave her everything I wasn't giving her. He took her treasure hunting on weekends, took photos of her, and actually talked to her. So, yeah, she cheated. And yeah, it was wrong. But was I the good guy just because I technically didn't cheat? No. I completely abandoned her emotionally. I just wanted to update this sub. Also, I'm really sorry if this post is rambling or hard to follow. Sometime after all of that drama, I had a severe accident that caused permanent brain damage, so even just typing this out is a huge chore for me. Long story short, we're still deeply in love, happily married, and finally treating each other right. We won't ever do polyamory again, but it all worked out in the end. Alright, let's jump straight into the comment section, because the people of Reddit were absolutely losing their minds over how this post unfolded. The first commenter pointed out the absolute insanity of the pacing, saying, "Bro, how does a post this dramatic manage to bury the craziest leads I've ever seen? His wife doing Adderall and cocaine again? Almost all his friends betraying him? And then just a super casual mention of permanent brain damage at the very end? How is OP totally fine with just breezing past the part where his friend got his wife hooked on hard drugs again? That is wild." Another user felt terribly for their therapist, writing, "I can only imagine the absolute internal deafening screaming of that poor couple's counselor when the wife kept repeatedly begging OP to go out and cheat on her just to make them even. Make it make sense. What a toxic mess." This next commenter brings up a wildly practical and kinda hilarious point that a lot of us are probably thinking. You know what truly blows my mind about this whole saga? Where did these people find the time for literally all of that? Between a full-time job, a marriage, keeping an apartment clean, buying groceries, cooking, sleeping, the gym, a social life. I barely have time to play video games on the weekend. Where do these people find the hours in the day to date secret side pieces and do heavy amounts of cocaine? Plus, they have a toddler. I don't even have kids and my time management is awful. This honestly just baffles me. And a final commenter perfectly summed up the overall vibe of this 9-year journey.
when a story with a supposedly happy ending just gives you the absolute ick. I guess I really will never understand poly relationships, but the part that confuses me the most is parents of small children trying to pull this off. Like, I'm almost impressed by the sheer chaos. Guys, let's take a second to unpack this absolute unit of a post, because I feel like I just read 3 different movie scripts stitched together. The sheer pacing of OP's reveals is mind blowing. We start off with a somewhat standard relationship dilemma. A couple opens up their marriage, they set boundaries, and one partner breaks them. The veto rule, where you can block your partner from dating a specific person, is super controversial in the non monogamy world. But regardless of how you feel about the rule, sleeping with your husband's only loyal best friend behind his back is a massive, universal betrayal. But then, update 1 hits, and we are suddenly dropped into an episode of Breaking Bad. The casual reveal that the best buddy didn't just sleep with the wife, but actively gaslit her, lied about OP having a cuckold fetish, and triggered a severe cocaine relapse is insane. This guy systematically tried to nuke OP's entire life from the inside out, and the wife's reaction to all this trauma, begging her husband to go have a revenge affair just so she didn't have to carry the weight of her own guilt alone. It is a level of psychological messiness that makes you genuinely pity the therapist who had to sit in that room and try to make sense of it. And just when you think you've processed the drugs, the lies, and the guilt tripping, bam, an 8-year time jump. OP suddenly takes on a massive amount of the blame, admitting he was an absent, video game obsessed husband who ignored his wife. Taking accountability is a good thing, but it feels like he convinced himself that her cheating was a totally natural consequence of his laziness, rather than a massive failure of her own loyalty. And to cap it all off, a completely out of nowhere plot twist. Oh yeah, by the way, I had a massive accident and have permanent brain damage now. Sorry for any typos. Honestly, what? It is a true testament to the wild west of Reddit that a man can survive his wife's secret cocaine-fueled affair with his best friend, stay married, open the marriage back up, close it again, suffer a traumatic brain injury, and sign off feeling like he got a picture-perfect happy ending. Ha. If you enjoyed the video and the deep dive into the madness of Reddit, please make sure to smash that like button, drop a comment,